Welcome back to College Hill Farm. Well, today it's time to think about seeds. Now, this is the way I keep my seeds: in a tote. Here's my sunflower seeds. You see what kind of jar they're in. These are a couple of years old. I'll need to save sunflower seeds this year coming, but these are great for attracting birds to your garden. Now, I know some of y'all say, well, birds peck my tomatoes and that kind of thing. Put some water out in your garden and birds won't be pecking your tomatoes. They're after the water, okay? So if they have a source of water, they won't have a problem. So I know I'm going to be planting M&Ms. I know I'm going to be planting sunflower seeds, and I plant a variety called Russian Mammoth. Now, in my tote, I plant mostly heirloom seeds. Now, before we go on, I'm going to talk about GMO seeds for a minute. GMO seeds are not available in the little packages you buy at Walmart, okay? Those are not GMO seeds. Most of them are heirloom seeds that you can replant. Now, let's see what we got. Now, of course, I've got sweet corn, but I don't know if I'm going to plant sweet corn this year. Let's talk about big gardens for a minute. Now, you all who follow the channel, you know that my garden plot is something about like an acre and a half. Okay, I tend it with a tractor and a hoe, and it's somewhere around an acre and a half. We've always planted potatoes and beans and corn and squash and cucumbers and all those kinds of things that you would find in most gardens. The truth is, it takes a whole lot of work. Now, this year we're done with our chemo and with our other stuff, but we're still having some problems. So the garden is probably going to be truncated a little bit this year. I want to get our solar array set up. I need to finish the tractor shed. Hopefully I can get to that. Right now, until Crystal's on her feet, I can't risk anything that I might get hurt doing, okay? And there's always the chance that you might krill an ankle or break a leg or whatever up and down the ladder working on that tractor shed. Of course, you could fall right out here on this ice. We've got 4 inches of ice setting. You could fall on this ice and do that to yourself too. So let's talk about big gardens. Now, we grow about 500,000 calories worth of food. I have 4 freezers, 2 7 cubic foot freezers, a 10 cubic foot freezer, and a 5 cubic foot freezer. That's 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and then 10 more is 29. So I've got 29 cubic feet of freezers. Now, why don't I get that in just one big 30 cubic foot freezer? When your freezer goes down, you lose everything. Okay, we've had a freezer go down, and you only lose what's in that freezer. You don't lose all of your other stuff. So we raise about 500,000 calories worth of vegetables here on the homestead. Now, the least calorie dense crop per square foot that I do is probably sweet corn. Okay, if I plant 4 rows of sweet corn, I get about 9 or 10 quart bags out of those 4 rows of sweet corn, generally. Okay, I might get 9, I might get 10, I might get 20 on a good year. But on a bad year, you get 2 or 3. So sweet corn is probably the least calorie dense thing we grow here on the homestead. Beans this year, this is my 6-week beans. These were saved in 2023, 24, 25, this is 26. So I don't have to save them this year. I can save them again next year. You can't save beans. Of course, 6-week beans are my number one bean, okay? They're my number one bean. They're what I make shuck beans out of. I like to make the Chinese green beans with them, that kind of thing. This is 6-week beans from 2023. And this is greasy beans. These are pole beans. They only grow on a pole structure. So this year, to just have a pole structure, I'm not going to plant sweet corn. Okay, I don't think I'm going to plant sweet corn at all this year. It's the amount of work, and then the pressure from raccoons and different things. If I don't stay right at it, and I may not be able to stay right at it. If I don't stay right at it, the wildlife will get rid of my sweet corn. I'll get a bear come through, and he'll get half of it or 2/3 of it. That has happened to me before. I've had a bear come through and take my sweet corn. Believe it or not, coyotes will pull it right down off the stalk. And when I first got here, I eliminated 5 coyotes. And I thought, well, that'll really reduce. It wasn't a week, I saw 2 more. So you can eliminate the coyotes, but they come back. Okay, they're very prolific. You just have to learn how to live with them at the same time that you're doing your thing. The only thing I've ever had coyotes go after is corn and chickens, and you just have to keep your chickens up. That's just the way it is around here. If you try and free roam chickens, they are going to be coyote and fox food. That's just what's going to happen, and hawks and owls, and so you have to keep your chickens confined some way. I'm thinking about doing one of those chicken tractors, but I haven't done that yet, and I don't know if I'll get to it this year. Crystal and I have divested ourselves of all of our livestock right this minute, so because didn't know how much time we'd have to pay to them. So we don't have any livestock on the homestead at this moment. So if I plant corn, what I'm probably going to plant is a white corn called Hickory King. Now, my grandfather called it Hickory Cane. Well, what he was saying was Kang, K-A-N-G, King. If you think about it, in his Appalachian dialect, he was saying Hickory King, and he called it Hickory Cane. Okay, so if you hear the term Hickory Cane, it is just Hickory King corn. And I've been saving seed from Hickory King for years. It makes a great cornmeal. So I can plant these. These are pole beans. These are greasy beans. A Hickory King stalk grows like 10 or 11 feet tall. Okay, it's a great big tall corn. And all I need to get back from it is enough to grind 5 pounds a meal, or 10, and then enough to save back for seed for the next year. Okay, so that's what I would do. Plant Hickory King corn, maybe a row, and plant speckled greasies, and then a row, and plant, what else? Where are they at? Got them all over here. Yeah. A row to plant white greasies. And a row to plant these white half runners. These are my 3 favorite pole beans. So they're heirlooms. But the bulk of my beans always come from these 6-week beans. They are the trick to raising a successful crop. And we'll show you how we raise them as the year goes by. Now, I put in some beds. I don't think this year I'm gonna start my own tomatoes. I don't know how many I can tend. Normally I put in between 100 and 150 tomato plants every year, and we take those and we either can them or freeze them or dehydrate them. Dehydrating is one of our favorite things. Right now I'm down here in the basement, and I can step over here and get a jar of dehydrated tomatoes. It's really easy to do with just a little Presto dehydrator. We've got 2 Presto dehydrators with 8 racks a piece. Is it 8 racks? Yeah, it's 8 racks a piece. 4, you get 4 when you initially buy it, and we bought 4 more to sit on top of them. So that's what we use to dry our tomatoes. We dry shuck beans in it. We'll dry anything in there. We dry strawberries, we dry kiwis, we dry bananas, anything we can dry in those dehydrators. They get about 130 degrees. You can't dry your bean seed in them, okay? You have to let your bean seed dry kind of naturally. If you dry your bean seed in them, the 160 degrees of the dehydrator will kill them out. Now, on February the 21st, I'm planning to go. Our Garrett County has a, and I don't know if this video will come out by then, on February the 21st, which is a Saturday of this year, 2026, our Garrett County Extension Office has a seed swap. And it's for folks to go and swap heirloom seeds. I'm probably going to go and take some of my heirloom seeds and just go to the swap and do that. But let's talk about what I am going to plant. I know I'm going to plant this year. Well, I know I'm going to plant straight 8 cucumbers, okay? Even if it's just some to eat, I know I'm going to plant those. I know when fall gets here, I'll plant radishes. Now, I may plant some radishes in the spring in the beds we built. You've been with us when we built those raised beds. Those might be easier for me to tend a few things. Then here is kale. I'll plant kale in the fall. I like kale after a frost has been on it. Just like turnips. I want turnips after a frost. It makes it sweeter. I will be buying, here's my poblano pepper seeds and my yellow tomatoes and mortgage lifters and gypsy peppers. And what's that? That's my speckled breezies. And these kinds of things like Cherokee purple tomatoes, I will not plant my own seed this year. I can go to the Amish, and they have Cherokee purples. They have these kinds of heirloom seeds, the mortgage lifters, and all that stuff, the German Johnsons, all that. I can just buy a few plants. I think I can get a flat of like 36 for $10. Okay, you just can't beat that. Walmart, a plot of 4 is $5. You know, just 4 of them. So I want to get some Bonnie plants too. I want to get some of the sun sugars. They're just they're a hybrid, and I buy them as plants rather than buying seeds, and they just do a fantastic job. We like to they're a little tomato, a little yellow cherry tomato. We cut them in half, throw them in the dehydrator. Oh, best thing in the world in the winter on salad. Of course, I'll be doing pumpkins, and then there's more of our sunflowers. What else is in here? Pumpkins and squash. This pumpkin is like a jack-o'-lantern pumpkin. Gets to about 10 or 15 pounds. Yeah, I'll be glad to get some of that. Now, you can't can pumpkin, okay? You can can pumpkin chunks, but you can't can pumpkin puree. But you can take pumpkin puree it, put it in a quart freezer bag and throw it right in your freezer, and it's just like opening a can. Just like opening a can of canned pumpkin. Okay? You can use it for anything. Let's see. I'll be planting mustard seed. Mustard. That's mustard seed. Of course, there's beans and beans and beans. And do I buy seed? Yes, I buy seed. This is a summer squash. I'll probably plant it. I'll plant a summer squash and a yellow crookneck squash. And sometimes some of those squash varieties, you need to go and buy you some extra seed to freshen them up. So I don't think I will plant an acre and a half of garden. It takes 1.4 million calories for me and Crystal for the year. We get about 560,000 calories from our garden. Right now our freezers are pretty full, and onions from 2 years ago in the freezer are just fine. Okay? You can't tell no difference than onions that were in the freezer, were just in the freezer 6 months. You can't tell no difference. So we keep our onions in the freezer. We have green onions and we have white onions, we have red onions. Okay, you've seen the onions we grow. We grow great big onions, and I think the last time I grew the big onions, I grew Spanish, red, and I think just Spanish and red. And I put like 22 bags, gallon freezer bags of onions that we haven't gone through yet. We've probably used 10 of them. So I've got plenty of onions, so I'm not going to raise onions this year. We've still got cabbage and broccoli in the freezer, so I'm not going to raise cabbage and broccoli. There's no reason to do that. Will I raise potatoes? I probably will do potatoes and sweet potatoes. Okay, you've seen us do the sweet potato thing. I really liked, last year I did my sweet potato sets in one of those raised bed totes that we did, and that worked out perfect. I covered it with $2.50 worth of compost, and the weeds didn't come up in it, just the sweet potato sprouts. So I didn't have to go through and weed it all the time. You know, I've always put them on the ground and then had to get down on my hands and knees and weed them, and I didn't have to do none of that last year. So yeah, that is exactly the way I'm going to do the sweet potatoes sets again this year. That's the way I'm going to do that. The radishes, and we've got a whole bunch of stuff, but I'm going to do one new thing. I try and do one new thing every year. And yes, I buy stuff off of eBay. Now what I've got here, and I don't even know if I've got a way of getting into this. I'm down here without anything. Let me see if I can find a pair of scissors. Okay, I found a pair of scissors. Now I bought this from Reese Sims in Huntington, West Virginia. I know that there are a lot of big companies out there that I could have bought these seeds from, but I bought these seeds from another homesteader off of eBay. But they just have a little thing where they raise and save their own seeds. And what this is, they've got the little package. It says seeds in it. I was really enthused to see that they just spent $1.03 mailing these, which is really wild. Now, what this is orange sorghum. Okay? Rock orange sorghum. So I'm going to plant sorghum for the canes, and then seeds. I bought $15 worth. This is each one of these seed packages have 500 plus seeds in them. And I bought $15 worth, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant these just like corn and tend them and see how they come out, and see if they make good cane poles and that kind of thing. But I'd really like to be able to squeeze some sorghum and make sorghum flour. These have a big seed pod on top. I reckon you could get 20 of these packs of seeds. From everything I've read, I don't know a lot about sorghum. I remember Clum Cornet, when I was a kid, used to raise sorghum over on the hill around from Paul, and we used to go over and squeeze it. But I don't know what kind of sorghum it was and that kind of thing. I remember we'd get the paddles. You get the paddles and you take the scum off, and you would get to eat the scum because it was just pure sugar. So you take the scum off as it boiled, and eventually you get it down there to where it was thick sorghum molasses. So I want to raise these. Now this year, am I going to get any sorghum out of this? Molasses? No. But this is not enough seed. I'm probably going to plant a couple of rows, and I'm going to plant them solo. Okay? I want to plant them solo so that they're all by themselves and there's nothing else to bother them. Okay? And I want to see if I can get some cane poles. I love to cane pole fish. I always did. I don't know if these will be good for cane poles like bamboo, but I really don't want bamboo on the property. That stuff's a terrible weed. But this may be a terrible weed once I get it going. We don't have river cane here on the property. There's some friends just on the other side of Paint Lick. They've got river cane, but it looks like theirs is only it gets only about 4 feet tall. So that's not what I want for a cane pole. If I want a cane pole, I want it to be 7 or 8 feet long. Okay, so I can really reach out there with that cane pole. But I loved cane pole fish. I always did in the river. So that's what these are for. They're for molasses. That's my new for the year. So now, this is how I store my stuff. It's just here in a tote. I lay a cloth over top of all of it before I close it up to kind of keep a little light off of it. On our website or on our Facebook page, you can go to the pictures. We have pictures on our Facebook page. You can go to the pictures section, and under the pictures section you'll find a sheet of paper that tells you about how long you can store seeds. Like bean seeds are good for 5 years. Okra seeds are only good for a couple of years. Okay, that paper will list all the things. It's in a photograph, so you can download it and have it on your phone if you want it. So now, if you like this stuff, this homesteading, do-it-yourself kind of thing, be certain to come on out to the channel and subscribe. We do this homestead stuff every week, sometimes 1, sometimes 5 videos. Just depends on what's going on in the homestead that week. Now, if you hit the little bell, it'll be right up here. It'll notify you when we upload a video. We upload on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, with the occasional short on Friday, Saturday, and through the week. So now, time for me to get on to the next thing. I can't wait for gardening season, and I love you all.